Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Glad you could join me. So, I finished this book recently, Japanese Myths, Heroes, Gods, Demons, and Legends by Melanie Clegg. Um, I was on my library website and noticed this book had just been added to the collection, so I put it on hold, went and got it. It is a brief read. I think it took me 2 days to finish it. I probably could have finished it in one if I didn't have other things that I had to be doing. Um, So it's a brief read. If you're thinking of a, an exhaustive book that plumbs the depth of Japanese myths, this is not it. Um, it starts kind of the beginning creation myth kind of thing, and it goes through and it slowly introduces um, the pantheon, if you will, of Japanese, um, and also not just Japanese, but um, also Buddhist influenced myths and legends. Um, I, for one, did find it interesting that in um, the Japanese myths that you had a lot of Buddhist influence. Um, and what ended up happening was you had kind of a merging of Japanese and Buddhist myth. I knew that um, a lot of times Japanese and Buddhist myth went side by side, but I didn't realize that was not actually the case. Um, that uh, there was more of a merging where you had a particular goddess or god that was originally Japanese, and when Buddhist came in, um, that god was merged with that Japanese god that was originally worshipped was merged with a Buddhist figure. Um, I One of the things that I found was also interesting was that later um, I think the author mentioned that it was during the Meiji Restoration that uh, there was a specific push to demerge the Japanese god from the Buddhist god. And so you then had where there was kind of this overlap where it was the two mythologies were converging, that there was a specific effort to move them further apart and to um, emphasize them as their own distinct, unique Japanese figure. Um, so anyway, a lot of the art in the book was very interesting, very obviously appropriate. There were a number of different uh, pictures and paintings, that kind of thing, and they were chosen specifically because they went along with the discussion of the myth, the hero, the god, the demon, whatever was under discussion at that point in time. Um, I find Japanese artwork very appealing, for one, and the fact that uh, these were not just examples of Japanese art, but specifically these legendary figures. Um, there are, of course, downsides to this book. One thing that I found was interesting was that there's a myth. I don't recall which one off the top of my head right now, but one of the myths, the author introduced it, but never explained it. Um, but every other figure that was talked about, whether it be, the umbrella demon, if you're not uh, familiar with that one, but the every time after that, when a mythological figure was introduced, there was always the context. This is the story surrounding this person. These are the things that they are supposed to have done. This was the result of their heroic or demonic efforts. But one story, for some reason, was introduced and then just left, and the author moved on. So I thought that was a little jarring. There were a couple other little things. I I found the book very interesting. I very much enjoyed reading it, but at the same time, there were some discrepancies. No, not discrepancies. Discrepancy is not the right word. Deficiencies is what I wanted to say. Uh, Particularly, what sticks in my mind was the one instance where the author um, introduced the topic, but then left it and moved on to something else without explaining. Whereas up to that point, they had explained, the creation myth and the beings who were involved in it. And then after that, it was the same thing. Every time the author introduced a mythological figure, she gave the context around that figure. But that one story, for some reason, it was like, here you go, mention this person's name, and then that they're um, involved with this particular myth, and then nothing. Um, so it's a beautiful book, uh, very short. So if you're looking at not a deep dive into um, Japanese myths, this is a good book for you. If you're looking for something that has more depth, yeah. Um, I, I can't say that you should give this a miss, because I found it had I found it very appealing, and I enjoyed myself reading it. But at the same time, it is lacking in that depth that you might want. That being said, let me know if you've read this particular book by Melanie Clegg, uh, and what you thought of it. If you haven't read it, let me know what your take is on something like this. Are you interested in Japanese myths and legends? Um, that being said, uh, like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.